White Lion Procurement has been an American provider of sourcing and procurement services on the rise. We source products and services from emerging markets such as Mexico, India, and Vietnam, although we have the experience to supply well-known markets such as China and Hong Kong. Currently, our offices are located in Mexico, the United States, and China. We offer a direct connection with factories and manufacturers around the world. We take care of monitoring quality and meeting the needs of your supply chain so that the product can be in your hands quickly and efficiently. We have the ability to connect you with large manufacturing facilities and small manufacturers to fulfill your monthly orders. With our extensive knowledge of the market, we get the best deals at the best price in record time, with minimal or no fees, and fast and affordable shipping. The manufacturing of a car is one of the most challenging projects we've had. There are large brands well positioned in the world such as BMW, Chrysler, Ford, General Motors, Honda, Kia, Mazda, Nissan, Toyota, and Volkswagen, and all of them have assembly plants of cars mainly in China, the United States, India, and Mexico. In Mexico alone, there are 30 auto assemblers. This country is one of the main manufacturers of light automobiles in the world. White Lion Procurement has prepared this guide to support you in opening your own car brand. We are prepared to make the supply chain you need to be successful in your company. Before a vehicle is manufactured, its development and validation must be completed. The different steps that are necessary to manufacture a vehicle are described below, although it is also possible that some of them occur in parallel to optimize time, which is known as simultaneous engineering. All the steps described below do not necessarily have to take place on the production floor. There must be a strategic planning. Without a doubt, it is the first step to decide, since from market studies it is necessary to understand what type of vehicle the market demands, with what characteristics and to what extent, sales volume. In this step, the final price is also estimated, although, until all the contracts are negotiated with the suppliers, all the necessary changes are made, it is not possible to calculate the manufacturing cost of the vehicle. The next phase is the design and pre-development of the car. The results of the initial phase are the basis for this phase. In this phase, the exterior design is established and, more roughly, the interior design. The technical requirements of each component to be developed and manufactured are documented. The next step is the nomination of suppliers. Once the design and the necessary components have been established, tenders are open for the different components between different suppliers. The provider with the best concept and the most advantageous price has the best chances to be nominated. The most important part is construction. In this phase, the vehicle and all its components are fully detailed. For this, the following aspects must be taken into account. Legal requirements. The current laws are different in each country and are mandatory if you intend to sell vehicles in their corresponding markets. Examples of areas with different legislation are the freedom of movement of the head, the angle of vision, CO2 emissions, flashing brake light in case of an emergency stop, intensity of the headlights, use of side indicator lights, color of the rear turn signals, etc. Costs. The composition of the different components and the final construction will influence the final manufacturing price. Properties of the final product. The finished vehicle must comply with some properties such as comfort, safety in the event of an accident. To meet these objectives before manufacturing the car, the only viable method is the use of simulation. Quality. The construction of the vehicle will determine its quality. Higher quality typically also leads to higher costs, so a compromise must always be sought during strategic planning. Manufacturing feasibility. This factor is derived from the different components. These must be able to be assembled and replaced ergonomically, they must be affordable, and they must be able to be assembled without problems by defining tolerances. The actual construction of the vehicle takes place in different phases. In the first, virtual vehicles are created in 3 dimensions with ideal dimensions. In a second phase, the first real prototypes are usually manufactured in a workshop specialized for these purposes with a limited production line, instead of being manufactured in the final production plant. This is when production is usually transferred to the plant, starting with a few units and always in different cycles. The verification of the vehicle is carried out in different scenarios: laboratories, test circuits, extreme climatic conditions such as in extremely cold and hot countries as well as in deserts. The next step is the use of prototypes, with camouflage, on public roads. The results of all these tests are taken into account in the next vehicle development cycle. In parallel to the optimization of the final vehicle, the necessary machinery is planned, tendered and assembled in the plant for the manufacture of the new vehicle. To carry out this production, we have divided this phase for you into the following subphases. Production planning. When the construction of the vehicle is confirmed, planning for its manufacture begins. Normally the new vehicles are manufactured on existing lines, probably from the predecessor model, so it is about adapting the existing line so that both the old and new models can be manufactured at the same time. This is necessary because normally between 12 and 6 months before launching the new model, it already begins to be manufactured at the factory, without the necessary maturity yet to be launched on the market. The challenge in adapting the line is that the current production has to be disturbed as little as possible to continue producing the models in series. Production assembly. After completing the production planning, assembly begins, as a preliminary step to the manufacture of the new vehicle. Production process. When building a vehicle, the steps described below are normally followed. Some manufacturers, especially high-end, e.g. BMW, create the vehicle from the customer's configuration, instead of creating vehicles with different equipment, colors and variants that the customer can choose from. The vehicle under construction moves between the different areas and the different stations using conveyor belt systems. The production can be spread over a single plant or, especially in areas where the square meter is more expensive or there is no possibility of expanding the plant, in several. The arrival of goods as well as the presses, due to their weight and volume, are usually on the ground floor. Foundry. In this area, the components that require casting are created, for example the engine block. This area is not necessary if these types of components are produced in other factories and therefore are components from a supplier. Presses. In this area the plates are made, with which the bodywork will be created. The metal arrives at the plant in the form of a coil, in English coils, which are cut into plates and pressed in a mold to give them the desired shape. Structure, body. In this area, the metal components of the presses are joined to the body structure. The union is made by means of welding points, although welding rails or pressure insertion are becoming more frequent. There are also more and more frequent processes such as rivets, e.g. aluminum, steel joints, and gluing, as a complement to welded joints, but also as the sole method of fastening. A large number of industrial robots are usually used in the construction of the structure. Acre and paint chamber. The bare bodywork is first protected against corrosion, for which the bodywork is usually immersed in a bath one or more times. Depending on the process followed, 1 or 2 protective coats are applied during the painting process. Prior to the final coat of paint, the bodywork is protected against corrosion with the cathodic bath painting method. Afterwards, a filler is applied that makes a homogeneous distribution of the lacquer possible. It is then that the paint layer is applied with the desired color and finally a protective clear lacquer. Auxiliary assembly. Large parts are assembled in these production areas to speed up the main assembly line. These components can be assembled internally or externally. In the latter case, these vendors are called a system vendor. Examples can be the engine, transmission, axles, cabin, front assembly, bumpers plus headlights, seats, doors, etc. Mounting. In this area the bare bodywork is completed with all the necessary parts. For this, the doors are usually disassembled and sometimes also the trunk door to be assembled in parallel and thus facilitate access to the interior of the vehicle. It begins with the cable harness, different according to the special equipment of the vehicle, to gradually populate the interior, cladding, air conditioning module, steering wheel plus axle, instrument panel, seats, etc. in parallel. The engine is assembled with the transmission and the axles. The union of the vehicle body and the lower part is called a wedding. Finally, the disassembled doors are assembled at the beginning of assembly. The vehicle is filled with all the necessary fluids, e.g. motor oil, coolant, brake fluid, etc. QA. This is when the engine is started for the first time to test the vehicle at high speeds on 2 rolls, so that only the wheels turn and the vehicle remains stationary. After running different electronic tests to confirm that all the intelligent components do not report any problems, OBD, the last details are finally carried out, such as imperfections in the body or an optimal opening and closing of the doors. As long as the vehicle does not require a major repair in the rework area that could not be done directly on the line, the vehicle is ready to be shipped. We know the car manufacturing process can get complicated, but you are not alone. White Lion Procurement can provide to you the streamline of the entire manufacturing process, a solid support system in place, an experienced designers team ready to assist you in your project, support to locate good and qualified factories around the globe, and more. Get started with White Lion Procurement today and turn your dream into a reality. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and share it with your friends, and remember to turn on the alerts. Visit us on social media to get to know us better. We are eager to form genuine connections with individuals. If you have a product in mind or a project in process, please do not hesitate to contact us via the phone numbers displayed on the screen or by email.